Radar operators in Scotland watched a disc-shaped object appear on screen, hovering, stationary, and moving against prevailing wind patterns. It wasn't broadcasting a transponder. It wasn't on a flight plan. And moments after the signal locked in, something happened on the ground that witnesses are still trying to explain. Phones came out. Reports flooded in. Then the object changed behavior. And that's when the story stopped looking ordinary. A mysterious UFO sighting in Scotland. It all started in the quiet area of Scotland, when something extraordinary happened, leaving local residents and visitors in a complete shock. A massive UFO was spotted hovering over the landscape, and eyewitnesses have described the sight as unlike something they had ever seen. The strange object appeared suddenly in the sky, catching everyone on guard and drawing widespread attention. According to everyone that saw the UFO, it was unusually large, not far bigger than the surrounding buildings. It hovered silently at a low altitude, allowing people to study its unusual design. The object seemed to float effortlessly in the sky, with no visible means of support of propulsion. What made the sighting even more surprising was the absolute silence it emitted, giving it an otherworldly presence. Eyewitnesses managed to capture photographs of the UFO, which revealed shocking details. The object had a smooth, bow-like shape, almost like an upside-down lamp suspended in the air. Its surface seemed to be made of a crystal-like material, and it was glowing brightly, as if it had light radiating from within. Around the edges, a soft halo of light shimmered, highlighting its rounded, elegant form. Some noticed that it had a subtle metallic framework, which suggests that this isn't just a random rock or comet in the sky, but a carefully structured piece of technology made by some form of civilization. Some suspect that this might have been made by an alien technology. At first, some onlookers thought the UFO might be a large balloon. But the doubts were quickly erased when the object suddenly accelerated. Immediately, it shot straight up into the sky at an incredible speed, moving so fast that it seemed to defy the laws of physics. Witnesses were left speechless, watching the glowing bowl-shaped object suddenly disappear into the cloud in seconds. The event has sparked widespread discussion among locals and UFO enthusiasts. People are asking different questions, like, what exactly was this object? Where did it come from? And what was its purpose? There's speculation everywhere, and everyone is trying to make sense of the unusual sighting. Authorities have yet to issue a formal statement, and no official investigation has been announced. For now, and the mysterious, glowing object continues to inspire wonder and curiosity. Residents say they will not forget the sighting for a long time, describing it as one of the most extraordinary experiences of their lives. But as experts investigated this, they realized that there were similarities to the case where UFOs swarmed around a Navy warship, and it was instantly caught by the radar. Radar confirms UFO. Swarm around Navy warship.
Well, if you can write a general that long where we're at, and then the number of contacts you got, the course and speed leaders off them. Mark bearing and range.
There was numerous warships that are having similar it appears to be coordinated interaction, and this whole series was within this kind of, I'd say, circumference of 100 miles, and there was up to 50 to 100 contacts.
Newly released videos and radar data recorded by United States Navy personnel have added significant weight to the national debate over UFOs. The footage, captured on July 15, 2019, shows multiple unknown objects maneuvering around the USS Omaha as it operated in waters west of San Diego. For the first time, radar images recorded inside a Navy vessel appear to confirm that several UFOs surrounded the ship for an extended period. As many as 14 objects were obvious on radar at the same time. The objects were tracked by two separate radar systems, recording their speed and movement as they circled the vessel. There was one particular object in the skies that drew close attention from the crew, and it looked very much like a self-illuminated sphere, about 6 feet in diameter, and then appeared to glow against the dark sky. The sphere was observed flying alongside the USS Omaha and was captured on thermal imaging equipment inside the ship's Combat Information Center. The object showed no visible wings, rotors, or exhaust, and it emitted no obvious signs of propulsion as expected from a human-made aircraft. Here the crew members noticed it maintained steady movement before it later descended toward the ocean. Video footage seems to show at least one of the spheres dropping into water before vanishing. At the same moment, it disappeared from radar and other sensor systems. In another part of the radar video, there were multiple objects surrounding the ship, with two suddenly becoming undetectable, even if they were tracked seconds later. And it was clear that those objects disappeared by leaving our airspace. But the question was where they eventually went. Officials stated that the ships involved were unable to determine where the objects came from or where they went after disappearing. For a long time, this was classified, but then filmmaker Jeremy Corbell released portions of the Navy video. Shortly after that happened, a Pentagon spokesperson confirmed that the footage was authentic and really recorded by Navy personnel. And the incident was then reviewed by the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force and was responsible for investigating encounters like this and preparing reports for Congress. Some have speculated that the radar was catching advanced drones or spy technology from other countries, but the government says that the objects have not yet been unidentified. As you can expect, ufologists have another story. When you combine the radar data and the video, it's more than enough evidence as the most documented Navy UFO case to date. Although there are many UFO sightings out there, not all of them have a lot of evidence like this case. But there was another shocking situation that saw different witnesses, including the police, and that happened in Miami, 2024. Miami Mall UFO on January 1st, 2024. A large police response unfolded at Bayside Marketplace, an open-air shopping mall in downtown Miami, Florida, after reports of a disturbance involving a group of teenagers caused chaos at the location. Dozens of police vehicles and officers were dispatched to the scene after they got a lot of 911 calls, although many of them were because of fireworks mistaken for gunshots. It led to many arrests as the authorities tried to restore order. But shortly after the incident happened, a video circulated on social media showing the busy police activity. But that wasn't the focus. The real focus was what seemed to be a glowing or unidentified object moving near the mall. Some online users and ufologists suggested that the footage showed a glowing UFO or extraterrestrial figure approaching or present near the mall. This led to some speculation that aliens had been sighted or were responsible for the disturbance. But the official sources quickly rejected the idea that there were UFOs. The glowing object in Brazil. A mysterious glowing object was seen in a small town in Brazil, attracting widespread attention from local residents who witnessed the unusual event. The sighting happened late at night, when people noticed a large, bright object far in the distance. It seemed to be a powerful glow against the dark sky, much larger and brighter than a typical aircraft light. Witnesses noticed that the object was not blinking like a plane, and it didn't move in a straight, steady path like a satellite. Instead, it rose slowly upward, maintaining a consistent glow. The movement was described as controlled and deliberate, instead of drifting or falling. It made no visible sound, and there were no signs of wings, rotors, or exhaust. As it continued to ascend, the object was clearly illuminated, standing out clearly from the surrounding sky. There were no flashing navigation lights seen on aircraft, and no trail that would suggest fireworks or a meteor. There was no explosion, debris, or impact. After the sighting, no official explanation, and the authorities didn't have any update regarding what had been seen. Residents are now confused about the event. Some of them are very sure that it wasn't a plane or satellite because of the movement and lighting pattern. Others are wondering about the unknown technology and if it's something beyond conventional aircraft. Ring-shaped UFO India. Meanwhile, in India, there has been another sighting which many have noticed. The sighting of a ring-shaped UFO in India has attracted attention after witnesses described a large glowing circular formation descending from the sky before vanishing mid-air. Here the object appeared as a bright ring, clearly defined against the sky. Witnesses noticed that it looked symmetrical and maintained a circular shape, instead of breaking apart like debris. The glow was steady and uniform, not flashing like aircraft navigation lights. Several witnesses believed it could be a meteor or space debris because it was falling at an angle toward the ground. Witnesses noticed that the object didn't leave a visible smoke trail, and as it descended, it didn't fragment like a normal comet or meteor. Instead, it maintained its ring shape throughout the sighting. Unlike a meteor, which typically burns brightly and disintegrates quickly, the object was controlled and stable during its descent. As it moved lower, onlookers expected an impact or explosion. Instead, the glowing ring reportedly faded and disappeared before reaching the ground. There was no visible crash site, no sound of impact, and no confirmed debris recovered afterward. The sudden disappearance remains the most unusual aspect of the sighting. Like with most UFO situations, the authorities didn't release statements explaining the event, and there were no reports of aircraft distress or space re-entry activity at the time of the sighting. Witnesses noticed that the object was much larger than a drone, and it was too structured to resemble fireworks. Hovering UFO in Mexico. While this UFO was a shocking sight, another one happened in Mexico, where multiple witnesses saw a UFO hovering above an open field, leading to speculation among the locals. According to eyewitnesses, the object remained nearly motionless above the ground for a long time, attracting attention for its unusual appearance and behavior. According to the witnesses who saw the UFO, it started to spin slowly in place. And that's not something you would expect from a conventional aircraft or aerial vehicle. Bright, shifting colors flashed across its surface, and that created a vivid display that stood out against the night sky. The lighting was described as neither the steady beam of an airplane nor the blink pattern typical of satellites or drones. Instead, the glow changed dynamically, leading some witnesses to describe the sighting as unlike any aerial object they had seen before. Residents in the area watched the object for several minutes, reporting that it seemed to scan the ground below as the flashing colors continued. There was no detectable engine noise or sound associated with its movement, an aspect that contributed to the mystery of the sighting. Some people present described the object's behavior as deliberate and unlike natural atmospheric phenomena. After a while, the object remained in the same position without descending or drifting away. Then, without any warning, it suddenly vanished from view. There was no reported explosion, descent to the ground, or visible trail left behind. And those who witnessed the event said they were unsure, and even the local authorities could not explain what they were looking at. Disc-shaped craft, U.S. Another situation happened in Chillicothe, Ohio, when a UFO which looked like a disc-shaped craft with rotating blue orbs was noticed by multiple family members in January 2026. This was not just a normal random object, but an actual spacecraft with rotating orbs. The sighting took place on January 12, 2026, or in the evening, as the witness and her family were driving south on Macy Bill Road toward Waverly, Ohio. The witness's sister, niece, and nephew noticed an unusual object flying close to the tree line, described as a disc-looking craft, hovering near the edge of the woods. The object was disc-shaped and displayed rotating blue orbs or lights around its structure. This lighting pattern distinguished it from conventional aircraft or drones, as the rotating orbs moved in a manner not typical of known aviation lights. The sighting did not include audible engine noise, and the object remained above the tree line for a short period as the family observed it. The witness stated that while she lost sight of the object due to driving, her niece and nephew continued to follow its motion from the vehicle's windows. Still, the local authorities have not released any official statements about this. A color-shifting disc, Mexico. There have been stranger UFOs out there, like the one spotted in a remote region of Mexico. Residents revealed that they saw fast-moving UFOs with striking changes in lighting behavior that left witnesses puzzled. The object first appeared in the night sky as a series of red glowing lights moving swiftly across the horizon. The red lights were described as bright and distinct, unlike typical aircraft navigation lights, and it didn't follow a clear flight path like an airplane or known aerial vehicle. The red illumination was steady and intense, and the object seemed to travel at high speed. As it moved, witnesses watched the color of the lights shift suddenly from deep red to bright white. The transition happened suddenly, and it was obvious to everyone there. With the strange color, there were a lot of questions about the nature of the object. As it continued its flight, the object's shape became more obvious. It looked like a cluster of lights at first, but then the formation started to resemble a disc-shaped craft, hovering and slowing its movement. The craft seemed to pause briefly in mid-air, as if it was spying or observing the area below, before it continued its motion. It moved in a way that suggested controlled flight instead of a natural meteor or a standard aircraft. And witnesses noticed that the object made no detectable sound, and it didn't emit any contrail or exhaust. Moments later, without any explosion, descent, or visible disruption, the object faded from view completely. There was no trace of it left in the sky, almost like it disappeared completely from their eyes. Multiple red discs, Peru. Another UFO case that has documented evidence happened in the rural region of Peru, and witnesses saw a striking aerial event that involved multiple disc-shaped objects that glowed red and hovered in the night sky. Several red discs appeared above the landscape, and it remained visible long enough for locals to observe their unusual behavior. The objects were disc-shaped and luminous, with each one emitting a steady red glow that made them different from the common aircraft lights and stars. Witnesses noticed that the red lights flickered as the discs hovered, creating a visual effect that stood out against the dark sky. The motion of the objects was not expected from airplanes or drones. Instead of flying in straight lines or following predictable patterns, the discs seemed to remain in place for a long time, almost like they were observing the area below. As time went on, some of the red-lit discs dimmed and disappeared one by one, leaving gaps in the formation until only a few remained visible. At one point, a small glowing orb detached from the group and drifted downward toward the group. The orb was rapidly descending like a meteor and moved slowly before it vanished from sight. Eyewitnesses expressed confusion and uncertainty about what they saw. There was no record of accompanying sound, contrails, or other conventional indicators of known aerial technology. No official confirmation or identification of the objects was provided by local authorities at the time of the report, and there was no indication that radar or aviation officials tracked the phenomenon. Glass revealed UFO USA. Let's end with a curious account that happened in Texas, USA, when a man saw an UFO that was only visible when viewed through a piece of glass, while nothing could be seen with the naked eye at the same location. The man held up a piece of transparent glass to the sky and saw an object hovering above. When he looked directly with his eyes at the same spot, no object was visible. Eyewitnesses emphasize the unusual nature of the sighting, noting that the object appeared clearly in the view through the glass, but it was absent without it. The object was stationary, hovering silently at altitude, and didn't exhibit any blinking lights or predictable movement expected of an aircraft, satellite, or drone. But what made this a curious case was the fact that it was only visible through the glass. When the radar detected a disc-shaped UFO, the Navy didn't expect that something strange would happen afterwards. The strange UFO sightings have been attracting a lot of attention, and now everyone is looking at their different shapes and where they might come from. Where do you think these UFOs came from, and is there more truth? Let's know your thoughts in the comments. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.